You go to Panama and you spend time there, and you look around and you look at all these banks. Like, are you familiar with the banking system in Panama? And
Not
like,
really.
it's like the Switzerland of the Americas. So people go there people have traditionally gone there to wash money and launder money.
Panama.
Yeah, Panama. Have you heard of the Panama Papers?
Mm-mm.
It was like it essentially was like a revelation of like all the people and companies and corporations around the world that were using Panama as a hub to launder their money.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very taboo subject, which I've been told that if I thoroughly investigate it, I will find a bullet in my head.
Really?
That's what I was told. Yeah.
By who?
By I can't say his name, but somebody in Panama who's very close with the banking system. And he said, if you want to do this story, if you've got he said, if you have the balls to do this story, he's like, there's a good chance you'll end up with a bullet in your head. And so it's still very relevant, right? But the banking system is a product of the canal. Like, everything comes back to the canal in Panama. But the banking system was created in the 1970s. And it was taken advantage of by the cartels and also by like people in America to launder and wash their money, because it was outside of like the American banking system. And also there were like free regulations, like free laws. And I forget where I was exactly going with this, but it's heavily ties to sort of all the stuff with the Iran-Contra affair, because the Americans were washing money there too. And if you think about sort of the scandal, it's because they were like funding the Contras and they were giving them weapons during an embargo. So they used the banking system in Panama as like a backdoor, and Noriega was the dictator, so he was like the buck stopped with him, but all of that stuff was backdoored through this sort of like this like banking system that allowed money to come from foreign governments and be washed through Panama and released out into Central America, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, and it's still relevant today.
Still relevant today. Yeah, look up the Panama Papers. It happened, I think, in 2017.
Panama Papers
2016.
are 11.5 million leaked documents of data published beginning April 2016. The papers detail financial and attorney-client information for more than 214,000 offshore entities. These documents, some dating back to the 70s, were created by and taken from the former Panamanian offshore law firm and corporate services provider Mossack Fonseca, and compiled with similar leaks into searchable databases.
Holy crap, 11 million?
Yeah, it's really nuts, dude. So this
links to Russian intelligence.
Yeah, I told you I met with a Russian spy in Panama like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
It's still, dude, it's all still going on today, and it's not like directly related to Iran-Contra, but it's like a trickle. It's like it's trickling down through the years, and it's still quite relevant. You know, you see that it says these documents date back to the 1970s when the banking system was introduced.
Yeah.
It intensified in the 1980s when Noriega was the dictator, and there was a lot of illicit stuff going on, and continues to this very day.
Yeah, I guess that's their biggest problem, right? Like, how do we hide money? How do we fund covert ops and hide and wash money and do it without Congress knowing or without the public knowing about it? I mean, you got it. That's the easiest way to track what's going on and all the fucking malicious things that are happening around the world is just follow the money.
Yeah.
But if you can figure out a way to hide the money, then you can get away with anything, get away with murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that seems to be what Jeffrey Epstein was really involved with, was moving around money for people. You know, he could have been doing that for multiple countries and multiple people. Just figuring out ways, creative ways to hide people's money, wash people's money, invest it in weird NGOs and get things done.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. Hard to say. I really don't know. I wish I knew more about that. I wish the world knew more about that. People are dying for that information, but somebody is withholding it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll never know. We'll never find out. They'll never let us know. I don't think there's any one person who does know.
I don't think so either.
You know?
Yeah.
It's probably also stovepiped, and there's like, imagine if there was one person that was alive today that knew the truth about all these secrets.
Yeah.
About Kennedy, about 9/11, about the war on drugs.
Yeah.
About all these crazy assassinations and scandals that have ever happened. I can't imagine that. I mean, I don't know. First of all, I don't know how you would go through life holding that information to yourself and like living a normal life if you had a family or something like that.
Yeah. Well, delusion, compartmentalization is a big thing with these guys. I saw it with Carlos, you know, I mentioned earlier, Carlos has like 8 kids. He was relatively present in their lives. Like he took them on vacations.
Really?
Dude, he took them on vacations, trips. You know, he was a father, but he was able to compartmentalize being an intelligence agent, being an enforcer, very much an enforcer. You know, like I've spoken, and you have too, I know, with a lot of people that, you know, you have on here. Like there are people that you've had on here that have murdered people or killed people, right? I've spoken in my line of work, I've spoken with so many murderers, so many, and couple, like Carlos didn't, you know, divulge this to me, but like you could probably label him as like a mass killer, right? He's probably killed like a lot of people. But these guys are able to compartmentalize that through delusion and through belief. And it's, you know, belief or conviction. Like they feel convicted in their beliefs. And it's almost like morals like aren't really like in question, and it stems back to what that guy Richard Coster told me in Panama, that reality doesn't exist, it's realities, and there are people that can jump between their own realities, right? And that's really just what compartmentalization is. Like you're jumping between realities. So I just think these guys, like you say, like how can they live with themselves and how can they do this, like knowing all this stuff? They tell
themselves stories, so
they're delusional.
Yeah,
you know, they make themselves delusional.
Well, you would have to do that. You'd have to use that as a tool for yourself, like psychologically trick yourself so you could actually live with yourself and sleep at night. Yeah. You know, make yourself believe. Tell yourself a story that helps you feel better about it or makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. I think I think you're right about that. I think that's the way you have to do it. I
think that's just what I think these guys do. Thankfully, you and I are not in that sort of position where we don't fully understand or like know what that feels like, but I would imagine that it's extremely stressful. There's a reason why these guys are so high strung and volatile.
Yes, that's a good point. So what are you planning on doing, like any sort of follow up to this, or when does this book come out?
Book comes out November 4th.
Okay.
It's on, I've got a website. It's www.therighthandmanbook.com, but it'll be in bookstores and on Amazon too. It'll be everywhere. My publisher is currently just like making sure everything is fully clean, and then we'll have the book available for pre-order in a couple of weeks and all that stuff. But if you go on the website now, I have just like some information listed. That's the one. I have some information listed. If you scroll down a little bit, Steve, I have like Triple Spy, Trained by Mossad, DA, I've got Cold War Secrets, and then this is like the blurb or the log line. It reads like a political thriller, but
the Cold War turned Central America into a battlefield of spies and sabotage. A Panamanian soldier trained by Mossad, DEA, and Castro's Cuba becomes the right-hand man to the dictator Manuel Noriega, and must survive the covert war launched by the very intelligence networks that created him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.